All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning and welcome to All Indiana Politics. I'm Garrett Bergquist in for Phil Sanchez. Indiana Senate Democrats have a new leader. Late Wednesday, they ousted Senator Gregg Taylor as minority leader in favor of Senator Shelley Yoder of Bloomington. This came after 3 more former Senate staffers accused Taylor of sexual harassment. I sat down with Yoder shortly after she took the reins. With us now is the new Senate Minority Leader, Senator Shelley Yoder. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Garrett.
So Democrats removed Senator Taylor as Minority Leader and replaced him with you less than a day after a new round of allegations against sexual harassment were made against him. What can you tell me about how that played out?
What I can tell you is we left that caucus room unified, excited, and focused on Hoosiers' needs and the 2025 legislative session.
So now that you are Senate Minority Leader, what will you do to protect women working in the State House from sexual harassment?
Well, we've been working on this for the last year, and what we want to focus on is revisiting our Senate standing rules and revisiting the employee handbook and making sure that the protections are there, that reporting is clear, and that state employees feel that they have a voice and the safe work environment that they so deserve.
Should there be changes to the Senate's policies and mechanisms for dealing with sexual harassment? And if so, what form should they take?
We are undergoing those conversations now, working across the aisle, making sure that the safety net is clear, that state employees feel that they have a very clearly explained, clearly defined, and someone in their corner who's going to stand with them if they should need to make a complaint.
Now, the Senate, of course, is just one half of the General Assembly. The House has its own rules and policies for its members. Do you foresee your chamber working with the House to make some potential changes over there as well because of this?
It's a unique situation, and we're going to make sure that all employees feel safe, whether they're working for the Senate side or the House side. We will be working together as we try to do every single day for Hoosiers, and I don't expect this to be any different. As a matter of fact, we are looking at making sure there's parity between the expectations and the rules and guidelines for both chambers.
Senate President Pro Tem Rod Bray has said he fears turning over any part of the process to an outsider like some sort of independent ombudsman could dilute senators' accountability. What do you make of that argument?
We'll have to wait and see, but what I would say is there seems to be some lapse there now, and we want to make sure we shore up all of those lapses and gaps and make sure that employees at the state who are there doing the good work for Hoosiers feel that they are protected and have an avenue in which to have their voices heard.
I do want to turn to the upcoming session itself now. So now that you are in charge of the Senate Democratic Caucus, what can Hoosiers expect from Senate Democrats this session?
Well, we've been working hard, and Hoosiers know and expect it from our caucus every single day. And now that we can focus, we're unified and we're excited, what Hoosiers can expect is we're going to be focusing on making sure that our public education is fully funded and supported, making sure that health care is accessible, and making certain that housing is affordable and safe.
Do you see any room to work across the aisle with the Republican supermajority on some of those issues? Because those issues did come up on both sides of the aisle during the campaign.
Our caucus is always ready to work across the aisle. I would say that is a guiding principle, that we know that Hoosiers expect bipartisanship, and we want to make sure that we're building our relationships with our Republican colleagues and getting good policy together for every resident who calls Indiana home.
In the state budget committee hearing the other day, we heard from members of both parties who basically flat out said they don't trust the new Medicaid forecast numbers that have been provided to the Family and Social Services Administration. And that's all stemming from last year when the accounting firm that the FSSA employs suddenly announced $1 billion Medicaid revenue shortfall. Do you trust the new numbers?
I think what we can say is we should all be skeptical because we can't trust them, because what we've heard is they have been wrong, and we've wondered what we're going to do about a huge $1 billion shortfall in a budgeting forecast mistake. So of course we can't trust them, and Hoosiers are absolutely dead on when they say that they can't trust those numbers, because we pretty much pulled the rug out from underneath so many Hoosier families when last year we said, oops, we've made a mistake and we're going to have to make some adjustments. And sadly, we started with Hoosiers' most medically complex children and their families.
What can we expect from Senate Democrats specifically on the Medicaid funding issue this session?
What you can expect from Hoosier Democrats is fighting hard for Hoosier families and individuals who rely on Medicaid, who need Medicaid to access their health care, to survive, for that security. And what you can expect from Hoosier Democrats is a real fight, standing for them and making sure that we're holding everybody accountable in that state house, that they have the protections that they need and that they can count on legislators to do the right thing. That's what Hoosiers can expect from our caucus.
Should the FSSA get a new accounting firm?
I think that's probably a good idea to take a look. I don't have that oversight. I know that our caucus is focused on making sure that residents, constituents that we serve, that they feel that they have a fighter that's making certain that their voices are heard. And I teach in a business school, so I know that when there is a mistake, you absolutely need to make sure that you don't make that mistake again. And so looking at all the contracts would be a good idea.
How will the change in administration affect the work that Senate Democrats do? Because now we've got a new session, we've got a new governor, new lieutenant governor.
When there's change, there's always going to be something new, and I know that our caucus is ready for that. What Hoosiers can expect is that our caucus is ready, that we're focused, we're excited, and we're absolutely focused on this next legislative session. And I just want to add to that, it's exciting because you never know what a new administration is going to bring to the table. We've been reading the agenda of our new governor-elect, but you don't actually see it because right now it feels more like talking points, and we need to make sure that we're doing the work that Hoosiers have called us to do. So that's what we're going to be focused on.
Coming up, Fort Wayne's mayor tells me about the moment that led her into politics. Welcome back. Fort Wayne's mayor says she wants to change her city from somewhere you go through to a place you go to. I recently headed to Fort Wayne to sit down with Mayor Sharon Tucker. She became mayor in April after the sudden death of longtime Mayor Tom Henry. It's part of our series highlighting the work of Indiana's black mayors.
We're looking at building out all of this along the river.
After working for 10 years in government finance, Tucker has quickly settled into her new role at the top.
We were able to cut the ribbon on both the Star, which is Star Banking's new building, and the Pearl, which is a new luxury apartment complex with some retail space down in the lower level of the Pearl.
Although Tucker is a relative newcomer to the public sector, she says the seeds of the office were planted back in high school.
In high school, I kept thinking to myself, what is this student body council? What is this student body council? And I could not believe that I had not been involved, because I thought, I like to make decisions. I like to be at the table where decisions are being made. And it was at that moment that I decided that I would never again miss an opportunity to be included in the decision-making process.
Tucker is Fort Wayne's first black mayor and one of a record 9 black mayors in the state. She tells me she's a little surprised and pleased to hear about that.
We all bring different perspectives to conversations. And if we are looking to be able to build community, it is only to our advantage to be able to have the different voices represented in that community.
Tucker says for her, that means ensuring Fort Wayne has something for all walks of life. She says she especially wants to tackle homelessness. City officials say more than 1,000 people are currently homeless in Fort Wayne. Developers are adding affordable apartments at the Landing. She says she wants to invest in housing and infrastructure elsewhere downtown and in the city's neighborhoods. Tucker's term runs through the end of 2027. She says she strongly encourages anyone with an interest in public service to run for office. And she says learn to listen, even if it's not what you want to hear.
One of the secret sauces of success is always listening to your community. And so many times when we're elected, we fail to remember that we are here for the people. We are here to represent what the people want and what the people need. And we just make the final decision based on the information that has been shared with us from the people.
Coming up, Indiana's best political team assesses the ongoing sexual harassment scandal at the State House and whether lawmakers can trust the revenue numbers they're seeing. Welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's best political team, Democrat Laura Beck and Republican Mario Masalamany. Let's begin with the latest shutdown fight. Mario, do Republicans own this if this becomes a pattern in the next Congress?
You know, I think the Republicans have to be very careful. You know, they had some significant wins this November, won the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So the Republicans truly have to show the American people that they're willing to lead. And I do believe that this is this government shutdown, even if it happens, it would be short-lived in the sense that we will make sure that, you know, people are, pensions are funded, government employees are paid. But, you know, Republicans need to make sure that this is not some sort of repeat where the media cycle is just talking about the government shutdown. There's so many things that President Trump, or soon to be President Trump, and the House and Senate are planning on doing. We don't need to spoil that by just talking about the debt ceiling and the government shutdown.
Laura, we're now over $36 trillion. That's trillion with a T in debt. Do Democrats own this problem too?
Well, I mean, I think it takes two to tango, but if we're going to talk about this specific government shutdown, I think really the person who has put the ball in motion for this is Elon Musk. Had he not put that tweet out talking about how this congressional resolution and this needed to happen, had he not done that and struck fear in the hearts of congressional Republicans, I think we wouldn't be in this situation. I think that's part of the danger of having someone like an Elon Musk, who basically is empowered to be the president, to be an unelected president. Having somebody like that in this very emboldened and empowered moment, making these sort of reckless actions before Donald Trump has even taken office, I think that's going to actually create a very challenging political dynamic for the president elect. And I think we're going to continue to see more of this as we move down the line.
So let's turn now to state politics for a little while. Laura, we heard earlier from Senate Minority Leader Shelley Yoder. She says the Senate will review its sexual harassment prevention policies. Is that enough? What needs to change at the State House?
Well, I think that there needs to be an overall look at how is this done? What are these HR policies in place? And across the aisle, across the entire, anybody who works in that building or who works within that structure should be able to feel safe and protected in the workplace. I think that's just completely imperative. I think what Senator Yoder is proposing is a good first step. I think the State Democratic Party has put together a policy as well. But I really think that both parties need to come together to put some type of commission together or some type of framework in place. The first step is to admitting you have a problem. And then the second step is how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And I think it's really incumbent upon everyone who is an elected official or who works for an elected official to make sure that they are a part of that solution.
Mario, should there be an independent ombudsman for General Assembly interns and employees to handle situations like this?
I believe so, and not to get too political about this, but, Democrats have been talking over the last 2 years about how they're here to protect women's rights. And, the two major stories regarding sexual harassment was in the Hogshead administration, where even reporters talked to multiple employees in the Hogshead administration, and they talked about it being a toxic environment. And then now we see with Senate Minority Leader, 6 people coming out stating that they were sexually harassed by him. Again, to get back to Laura's point, there needs to be some rules and regulations. These interns and even the lobbyists need to be protected in this situation. We're about to get into 2025, and if a woman cannot do her job without having to deal with some man sexually harassing her, trying to sexually attack her, and can't take a no for an answer, then that's a serious problem. In Congress, in the General Assembly, we're dealing with people that are supposed to be public servants. They're here to serve our community, not act like they're kings and queens in the General Assembly and take advantage of their authority. And so we need to put more things into place to protect the interns and also the lobbyists and even legislators, because what we're hearing and what we're seeing is that a lot of complaints that have been going on for a number of years. And, we shouldn't have to wait till one person comes forward and then allow for other people to come forward. So there should be some sort of commission where a person feels that they can go and air their complaint without having retribution or retaliation in their job. And as such, I believe that both the House and the Senate need to come together and figure out a new set of rules, both with the Republicans and Democrats, to protect these women, because this is not acceptable. I believe both Republicans and Democrats can agree that this type of behavior is not acceptable, that women should not have to fear the ability to just work and to be successful, that they have to be preyed on by some of these men.
Garrett, can I add one thing to that really quickly?
Yep.
Do you mind? I think another key point that Mario makes is talking about the overall culture. And Mario, I don't want to speak for you, but you're talking about the lobbyists, the elected officials, the staff members. One of the things that is very apparent is that predators hide and predators thrive in places where there aren't rules and in places where they have the power. And when you take that kind of power away, such as there are consequences for behavior, they are held to a standard of accountability. They're held to a criminal standard if that's appropriate, if someone deems to press charges against them. They hide in the shadows, but they thrive where they feel like they're empowered. And I think that the more that we work at this, the more that we get to it, the legislative session is not one giant spring break. You're there to do the work of the people. And I think that because there has been such a spotlight shine on this, I really hope that it is imperative that they come together to protect people who work there.
This is for both of you. Should Gregg Taylor resign from the state Senate? Mario, you go first.
I agree. After reading some of these other allegations that just came forward, for him to walk into a women's restroom after, an intern walks in there, some of this behavior, and it's not just 1, 2, not 3 or 4 or 5. We have 6 different allegations from 6 different women, and who knows if there's more. This is extremely predatory behavior. These women's voices need to be heard, and we need to make sure that they're protected. And if, from what it sounds like, he is just walking around acting like he's the king of the castle. And so this type of behavior, I'm glad that the Democrats voted him out as minority leader. I believe that the House and the Senate need to create rules where they are asking him to step down.
Laura, how about you? I've got about 1 minute left.
I think when you become ineffective, that is an opportunity to take a look at, can I get my job done for my constituents? I think that's a key important part. But I don't want to play a game of whataboutism here. But if Gregg Taylor's going to resign, then so should have Curtis Hill, Diego Morales, all of these various people who've been accused along the way. Again, I think this is a systemic issue. I think it's one that we within our own parties have to stop covering up for, I wouldn't even say covering up for, stop looking away from. And I think that we're making an important first step in heading in that direction. But we have a lot more work to do.
Laura and Mario, great conversation as always. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics on this penultimate weekend of 2024. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. And be sure to check out the All Indiana Politics podcast online at our website, wishtv.com. A Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy Kwanzaa to all who celebrate this week.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.